What's up guys, Luke here, and today we will be playing Ford Racing 3. Now this is now 10 years old, but it's a big comparison, or contrast should I rather say, to the GM Rally game, in that it's actually good and also has sensible car choices. So we're doing a classic car race, and my keyboard has decided it is not going to respond. This bodes really well for the video. And then suddenly it's kicked in. So you've got quite a large selection of cars, some of which you have to unlock in the Ford Challenge mode, and some of which you have to unlock in the competition mode, which I will be playing now. So I will be driving a nice blue Capri, and this is a 4-race series. Now, one thing I should note about this game is that it doesn't work properly if it's not running in 60 frames per second. The physics start to glitch out, the AI starts to glitch out, and you get cars teleporting through you. And it also does like to have random frame drops whilst recording, although, obviously, being such an old game and reasonably well written one, it runs silky smooth at 60, which is up to, even at full HD. I've had to drop the resolution to 720p to actually play this without the ridiculous frame drops during fraps, just because of the way fraps works. Well, to have the frame rate actually work, let the game work. And since I'll be uploading this to 720p anyway, it doesn't really matter so much. So, Ford Racing 3, as the name suggests, is the third game in the Ford Racing franchise, and this is by far the best of the three. I haven't played Ford Racing too much, but Ford Racing 1, or also known as Ford Racing 2001, is quite weird. The physics aren't very good, and the car sounds aren't very good, and it's just not as good as it could or should be. This game has a wide variety of Fords, and also, quite nicely, they are European and American Fords as well, and you can race them against each other. So you get the European Fords like this Capri, which I am having issues driving because I'm having my keyboard not respond properly. I don't know if this is an issue due to me recording or if my keyboard's giving it the ghost. I did disable my Wi-Fi adapter, which usually fixes these issues, but apparently not on this game. Now, the game doesn't look brilliant by today's standards. There are better looking games from its time frame. However, it doesn't look bad. I think it's a bit jagged, and it's not quite as smooth, and the textures are a little off, even what the best games at the time would have had. But it wasn't a high budget title, so I apologise for when the camera glitches out when it just drops some frames briefly. Not much I can do about that, I'm afraid, other than lower the resolution even further, and even that isn't guaranteed success. I don't know what causes this. I don't know if it's my processor throttling down briefly in its power save mode, or what it is. All the cars look like their constituent cars, although I will admit that in widescreen, things have been stretched just a little bit. I'm in the competition mode. Oops. Over-revved. Some of the engine sounds on this game are very variable, I would say. Some of them are very, very good. Some of them are pretty average at best, or don't sound quite right to me. And this is going to be an issue because of the lighting. You might now start to see the cars jumping around a bit more and the physics not working very well. This is obviously going to be an issue with this particular track. This is annoying. So this is the only real issue I have with this game. It's a bit like the STCC2 when I upped the render distance so high, where the frame rate isn't as good as it should be when recording. It's just a bit weird. I have a bit of a story to talk about, something that happened yesterday. I may have fallen off my bike slightly. What happened was there was a jogger on a cycle path, and the path itself wasn't very wide, and there was a bit of grass. Whoa, that dropped. So I thought I could squeeze through on the grass. only to suddenly realise as I went off onto the grass that the grass verge was very quickly disappearing. So I hit a bump in the grass as it sloped downwards, and it threw me off my bike. Fortunately, nothing really was damaged other than my sense of pride, because I didn't have any dignity in the first place, and my bike lights. Whoa! Good grief. Bike lights have been damaged a little bit. I've got a couple of grazes and a couple of bruises, but nothing major. The bike itself, apart from I have to straighten a few things out, just because they've been knocked out of alignment. So the brake lever and left gear shifter the left brake lever and left gear shifter have been knocked out of place slightly, and that's about it really. The handlebars may have been knocked very, very slightly, but oh grief, what on earth was that? I really apologise for the issues in quality here. I didn't test a nighttime track because it worked fine when I tested it on a daytime track, so I'm afraid that's something odd. This is where I wish I had an i5 where I'd have no issues actually keeping up with this game whilst recording. The track designs are pretty average, I'd have to say. This game does have some very unique game modes though. It has a... what the hell? It has a relay type of race where you have to draft behind... you complete a lap in a car, and then you draft behind... when you finish the lap, you have to draft behind another car, and then you switch to that car, which I don't think has been done anywhere else. There are also a few other unusual game modes, but that's the one that sticks out the most. I would definitely classify this more in the arcade realms than anything else, because the physics are not simulation, not even slightly. All of the random game modes aren't standard races, obviously, like an arcade game. And the fact that a lot of the cars are very similarly matched, even if they weren't necessarily in real life, is also indicative of that to me. Come round and cruise around the corner, trying to fiddle with my microphone a bit, which is not a good idea when I'm supposed to be driving. Expecting a massive frame drop anytime soon. It's very weird that this game is so tight to frame rate and game performance though. I've not seen many games this modern, bar Need for Speed Rivals, that are. Very strange. By the way, I've been trying to record quite a few different games today. I was initially going to do one on Juiced, but then I fucked up in the preparation, and I may have lost my main car in a pink slip race, so I got frustrated. I then tried a couple of other games which either perhaps wouldn't capture or didn't want to work properly for whatever reason. Oh, by the way, Juiced does work on Windows 7 64-bit, but you need to enable the XP Service Pack 3 compatibility mode thing, otherwise it won't work. That bit will give you a "you need virtual memory enabled" error. Need for Speed 3 seems to work fine, although I think I'd already patched it so it would. I'm not sure. But yeah, perhaps we can capture it now. Rally Championship Extreme didn't want to actually play. Finish. And things like that, really. So I've ended up playing this game, which I forgot I haven't played it in years. And I've forgotten how much I loved it. I also didn't realise I was actually playing this career mode on easy, but that does explain a lot. Also interesting that I beat a Mach 1 Mustang in this Capri whilst recording and having the frame drops. So that's interesting. I wonder if anyone else remembers this game or the Ford Racing franchise. I got a 3.6 second wheel spin in some cars. It was quite funny actually. Whoa! Yes, it's definitely obvious that it's on easy. Getting frame drops on this one as well, so I do apologise. I don't think there's much else I could do. I mean, I could have dropped it to 640 by 480 possibly, but even then there's no guarantee it will actually run properly. Whoa! That was ridiculous. I had no control of that whatsoever. It runs fine in this bit. It must be certain areas. It's not shadows that are tanking it. But it's not the sun, although the sun does glitch nicely. I don't know what it is. I do like the moving vehicles in the environments. You know, your trucks on the motorways like that, well, freeways as the Yanks would call them, and the trains on the train tracks sometimes. Let's try and work out why we're getting massive frame drops in that particular area. Well, some there, but that's just a standard glitch Fraps can cause on any video, so... I don't know how much of this will actually come out on the YouTube videos. I know you'll be able to spot the camera glitching out. That was a nice drift. But I don't know how much of the rest of the issues you'll be able to see. So, we're alright here. 60 frames per second still. You can't really get stuck on that wall unless you try. It's quite nice that way. There aren't many invisible walls as such, right? So there's a frame drop there underneath the trees, but nothing like that first lap, so maybe it was just having all the cars around it. It's not even just the cornfields. Very strange. So, as we coast our way around, I didn't mean to do this on easy. That was a mistake. I forgot to change the difficulty. I had been driving on medium on another game mode, but for whatever reason I didn't switch it. Didn't switch on this one. This car is very, very nice to drive. Whoops! Frame drops at the worst time possible. Also, I should have slowed down for that corner anyway, but it doesn't matter too much. In hindsight, baby blue or NHS blue is probably not the best colour to paint a Ford Capri in. So the issue with these sort of quite flat textures on the cars is it makes it feel a lot more cartoony than it needs to be, which I think is a shame. I'll tell you what I would like though, and that's to see a proper HD remix of this game. It wouldn't necessarily need to change anything, just the graphics. Just update them and put them into full HD rather than sort of... It runs fine in HD, you know, but it runs fine on systems, but I'd just like to see it reach its full potential, as it were. I mean, obviously if they added the newer Fords in, that would be quite nice, but there's no need for them to do that. Okay, as we drift around this corner, I mean, everything that's in place now would be perfectly fine if they just upped the texture quality, added a few more polies on the models to sort out some of the jaggies, particularly the environment models as well, and just got things a bit smoother and crisper. That'd be quite nice. And sorted out the issue with frame rate on, well, not frame rate as such, but game performance on lower frame rates. I mean, I can't back it up whether this is just this system or not, because I haven't actually tried it on anything else. Or indeed, obviously I can't get it to drop frames or drop the frame rate right down like that on this system, because when I'm not recording, then it's going to be easily 60 frames per second. It will probably be running at like 200 if it was unlocked, at the very least. I also wonder how it would perform if unlocked. I also don't know if it would sort of scale up if I was running a 75Hz monitor. Unfortunately, the system that I do have that is attached to a 75Hz capable monitor is not really strong enough to run the game at that sort of refresh rate. It's not strong enough to run the game at all, but that's attached to my HP Vectra or my Dell Optiplex, depending on which I attach it to, and neither of those systems is strong enough to run this game. Both of them are short on the graphics card front, and on the vector front is short by a long way on the processor front as well. Days gone by. Nice long drift there. So this competition is obviously an interesting mix of knockouts and circuit races. Now most games don't do that. They usually just have the tournament being one type of race and one type of race only. I think a mixture, you've got to do it carefully. You don't want to really mix up totally dissimilar race types. So if there was drifting and drag racing in the game, you wouldn't want to do that. You wouldn't want to mix with those in the tournament because that would be silly. Because you turn up in a car and set up for drifting and then you've got to then go drag racing, which is not much good. Certainly a combination of knockout and standard racing is perfectly fine. After this I'm going to go and try and find a relay race to show you what that's like, because I think that's one that's definitely worth talking about. Well, it's not hard to go and find one, I'll just go and make one. But one thing I will do is also show you some of the other game modes, or at least in the menu, because you have to win a race in either the competition or the collection modes, or challenge modes, I can't remember what they're necessarily called, and to unlock each mode, which is quite an interesting way of doing things. So, here we go, carefully cruising. Certainly a nice looking track, if you can live with the obvious lower quality textures or whatever. So I think the tracks themselves would be alright if you just up the textures, smooth the jackies a bit for a HD remake. I'd also say this game doesn't really look that much worse than GM Rally does, even though it's considerably older. And it also goes up to full HD, whereas obviously GM Rally doesn't. I actually bought another couple of games based on the same game engine as GM Rally, just to prove that it's not even the game engine that's the fault. The game engine does seem to be the resolution issue, I'll give it that much. But these are much older games based on the same engine, or maybe an older version, but they look better, and they play a hell of a lot better as well. And they sound a lot better as well. It's Expand Rally, Expand Rally Extreme. Expand Rally was actually really highly rated, but it's now often forgotten, as it was a budget title, and a budget title that was low enough budget that they didn't actually license any cars. That's usually a sign of the budget title, but that's not a sign of a bad game. There have been plenty of very good games that haven't had licensed cars. Screamer Rally and Screamer 2 being examples of that immediately spring to mind. Whilst there are plenty of crappy games that are licensed, like GM Rally. So, that was a fairly easy race win. Haven't really had to work for any of them, apart from when the frames were dropping a little bit earlier on. So, we win that, and now we go through all the unlock screens. So, I'll just let you watch and listen to show you what they actually are like. Oh yeah, there's the driving points, rating points as well, which I don't really know what it does, but I forgot about that for a moment. There we go.
Car collected.
So, Ford Galaxie 500. Great big American V8. Lots and lots of space inside and lots of car to drive.
Livery pack collected.
Get livery packs for some vehicles, but not all of them.
Car collected.
Ooh, 2002 Crown Vic. So that just shows you some of the variety of what's in the game.
Livery pack collected. Cup collected.
There's my cup.
Competition unlocked. Competition unlocked.
Okay, so I've not unlocked any race types, but now I've obviously unlocked 2 more things. So, if we go and show you Ford Challenge mode, you'll see that these are all the challenges you can compete in to try and unlock the different cars.
SVT.
So, seconds out is a timed run. There's duel. That's drafting. Relay challenge is unfortunately locked. as an overtaking challenge.
Concept.
So I think all the relay
Generations.
ones that I
Mustangs.
haven't done are
Thunderbirds.
locked, so we won't be doing those
Ford
just
Collection
right now.
allows you
Yes, I know what Ford Collection does. So this is all the race types you've got. So as you can see, there's quite a few. So there's the description of the relay. Just let you read that briefly, and then
relay.
as you can see, I've unlocked most of the classic cars. I've not unlocked many of the modern cars yet. There are some vintage cars, but you can't use that on this race type because there's not enough of them. And then there's performance cars, which I've only unlocked one of, and then off-road, which I've only unlocked a couple of. So let's go and race in the modern. So there's my Crown Vic, Ford Racing Puma, and then the Ford Thunderbird convertible, which is a nice sort of halfway house. And in fact is a lot better than the Crown Vic. And probably beats the Puma as well, doesn't it? It's about the same as the Puma, but the Puma's a bit lighter. You can't repaint the Puma, but then it only came in that colour anyway. So these are all the track areas that there are. I haven't unlocked them all, obviously, so we'll go to that simple Colonial Run. Opponent vehicles.
Let's race.
And there we go. Let's race, bitches. So he's going to start in a Ford pickup. Interesting. This just shows you some of the really weird mixtures of things you can do. So that's a Ford SVT pickup. So, oh, is it? It might just be an F350, standard F350, I'm not sure, with the diesel. So, as I drive my Ford Racing Puma, these were very, very popular Ford Pumas, although the Racing Puma was generally just too expensive for anyone to get. However, it's also retained its value very well, and the Ford Racing Puma is now worth a fortune because it was so rare. Particularly nice ones that haven't had the arches rot away. Now, I'm struggling here because he's quicker in a straight line than I am. And this is a power track rather than a handling track. So I do have a disadvantage. And indeed, there he goes. But I can take that corner a lot faster than he can. Look how wide that car is.
Draft your partner to change the baton.
Okay, so I'm nowhere near drafting my partner.
Baton change successful.
Okay, so this is not a very fair matchup either. We've got a one Ford Falcon against an old Capri. And my headphones cable is getting in my way, which doesn't help anybody. Those reversing lights don't look great. The lights are the biggest issue with these cars, other than the actual colour paint job textures. They just don't look right in terms of the way they're textured. It's a bit of a letdown. It's not so bad in there, but this does show you very nicely just, whoa, I nearly lost that, just how varied the cars and the racing can be in terms of the cars that are racing against each other. I think it's quite neat. Okay, so we're currently flying through. Also, the relay races are a very good way of trying out new cars, but not knowing of what you're going to actually try out. And indeed, cars that you haven't unlocked. For example, I haven't unlocked this one. I think this is a Capri Brooklands, but I couldn't be certain. That's the limited edition Ford Thunderbird. So this drives very similar to the regular Ford Thunderbird, which I have from 2002, which I've already driven and indeed unlocked. Look at the lead I've built up. So as we cruise uphill, it's not a hard game to learn. Because of its arcadey nature, the cars are all fairly easy to drive. So as we just cruise along, I think this game is definitely best played in the 4x3 morning, so that's one of the disadvantages. It's a bit like Con McRae Rally 2 in that yes, it will render in 16:9, but it won't quite look right because it wasn't really designed for it. What I would like to see though is actually custom resolution options in games. So you
Finish.
could go and run
You
things
win.
in. You could basically fiddle around with the resolution until you found something that ran at the right frame rate, but was just about what
Ford
you wanted
challenge.
in terms of how it looked graphically. I think that would be quite a neat little idea.
Trucks.
So we're going to go and do a drafting challenge,
Selected.
just to show you this challenge mode. So if I was to do hard, I would unlock that token, but I don't know what it really does. I'm going to give it a go, because I
Let's
can't
race.
remember what
Get
those
into the
tokens do.
slipstream of the car ahead in
Ooh,
order to
snow.
drive them. 2, 1, go.
This will also show you the drafting mode, which is not unique, I would say, but it's pretty uncommon for a standard type of racing game like this one to do something along these lines. I would consider this a hard challenge because when given the track, good grief.
Time extended.
Okay, so now we've got to then go and catch up the car ahead, which is an Escort RS 2000, quite nice. It's also nice how they put that in the off-road section. And some of these off-road tracks are extremely bumpy. This is a nice place to try and draft.
Time extended.
Okay, so here we go. So my Explorer Sport, I'm catching an Explorer Sport track, driving my F-150 truck. Takes a little bit of catching up at times. Whoa! And so it's very hard to draft on this sort of surface. I don't know if that's actually part of the drafting challenges to do it on this track. It might be, you know. That might make it be to make it harder, I don't know. Certainly succeeded, so I got 2 more vehicles to draft. Ford F350. And that was what I was racing earlier, I think. Oops, not supposed to hit the car. That does get me in trouble. I've never done it before. I don't know if it just made a noise at me or if it actually penalised me. I didn't look. I'm not going to lie. So, need to catch the Ford EX concept now. So yes, there are Ford concept vehicles on here as well. So there's some really interesting vehicles on this game.
Finish.
Okay, so that concludes the drafting challenge on hard. So let's see what that gives me. Obviously, it's going to give me all these driver racing points. Boop.
Car collected.
So we get the Ford F-150 FX4 from 2004.
Livery pack.
We get the livery pack.
Track collected.
We get the track.
Token collected.
It's just a challenge token.
Challenge unlocked.
Now I don't know what the challenge token gives me, but there we go. So I think we're going to finish off
Challenge selected.
with a medium relay.
Let's race.
And maybe those chat tokens go to unlock something, I don't know. Okay, so we've got old Ford F1 pickup trucks here. This is going to be my last video. No, last video? No, it's going to be the last race of this video. This is not my last video, folks, don't worry. Was one interesting thing about the Ford F1 trucks, as you may have noticed, they only have 1 brake light. I'm quite surprised by that, but that's true, that's what they did have. I do like how there's also the vintage Fords in here, and I'd like there to be more of these old ones, like pre-1950s designs, and particularly the pre-war ones. I'd love to see more of those, but the car selection for 2004 in this game is very good. So, I mean, obviously you could have a whole bunch more Fords if you wanted, and with a higher budget modern title you probably could do that, but Ford Racing 4 would be also alright with me. Whoa, let's drive through the water. I'd be quite happy to see one of those if it was done as a proper successor to this, so it built on all the content this had. It's sort of a shame that we don't really get those sort of games anymore. So, what we're driving here, we're going to be driving what looks like a...
Baton change successful.
There we go, it's an Explorer Sport track. So this is one of the cars we were racing last time. This race is also a very good way, not only is it a good way, as I said before, of trying new cars, it's also a good way of me showing you new cars. I'm surprised we don't see that many manufacturer games or as many as we used to, because Lotus used to have a few, Ford have built a whole bunch, obviously there's GM Rally, Ferrari still do it, Porsche don't, so it needs to be Porsche was the only real one that I can immediately think of. As I said, there have been a few Ferrari ones, but Ferrari are the only ones that seem to still really do it. It seems to have gone out of fashion somewhat, which is a shame, because although some of them were half-arsed and lame, some of them were bizarre. So Ford Simulator, those original games were definitely just marketing materials, and they were very, very strange. May try and film one at some point. They're from the 80s. That's how old they are. All good. Nice Focus rally car. So that's nice. Note the difference in performance. Yeah, so the Ford Simulator games were quite weird. Some of them were very good. I mean, this was very good. Lotus Challenge, when it worked, was very good. Obviously, Need for Speed Porsche is still very well regarded to this day. And indeed, some of the Ferrari games have been very good, although they've not been as good as you'd expect them to be, given their content. I mean, Test Drive Ferrari game is not as good as it should be, I feel. I think it should have been a lot better than it is, and it also should have much better wheel supports. If I remember correctly, it doesn't really have any, which I think is unforgivable on a game like that. I remember this game working okay with a wheel, but that may be a fake memory, and it certainly isn't applicable to my current wheel, which I've definitely never used with it. In fact, although I installed this on Windows 7, I don't think I ever actually played it as much as such. Whoop, that was close. But here we go. So I think that concludes this video, and I need to go and have a drink now. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe to my channel if you're new, and also comments are always appreciated. And I'll maybe share my videos as well. It really help me out. So yeah, hope to see you back here in the very near future, folks, with new videos. And look out and have a good day, folks.